A regular meeting of the City Council held in Council Chamber on Thursday, February 16th, 2017 at 7:10 p.m. for the purpose of transacting any and all business. Notice of this meeting was posted on February 8th, 2017 at 2:56 p.m. This meeting is being taped and is live on SATV. No councilors are absent. They're all present. Councilor Milo presiding. Councilor Turiel moves to dispense with the reading of the minutes. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Epley, if we can all rise and join Councilor Epley in leading the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Normally, Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I ask if we can take the agenda out of order and go to page 4 to appointments and reappointments.
Sure, okay. All right, appointments and reappointments.
After public comment?
We'll have public comment after the first appointment, so that there's only one appointment, so.
Okay.
Appointments and reappointments?
Held from the last meeting, the mayor's appointment of Colonel Megan Leclerc, Esquire, 10 Orchard Street, to the Salem Harbor Port Authority for a 3-year term to expire January 12, 2020.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Gerard moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Colonel Leclerc has been a resident of Salem for the past 20 years. She is also a fellow UMass Amherst graduate. She was in active duty in the National Guard for 18 years. She's a member of the Air National Guard. And her background is as an attorney for the Government Services Administration. And a lot of the work that she does is in policy and programs. And she has also been an avid boater her whole life. And so that is why I think that she is a fantastic recommendation to the Port Authority Commission, and I strongly recommend her appointment.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. I also, too, rise for this appointment. I haven't had the pleasure of meeting her, but from all accounts and from talking to Bill McHugh, our harbor master, he's very excited about this. We're entering into the cusp of the whole Port Authority, and just because Ward 1 happens to border the water everywhere, I have the pleasure of being able to sit on that committee as well, so I'm really looking forward to it. She has an impeccable resume, and comes highly recommended, and Bill McHugh, who I respect immensely for his ability, what he does on the water, he comes highly recommended, so I'm really looking forward to sitting in a couple meetings and really trying to figure this out, because it's really some exciting times in Salem when we look at the redevelopment of Salem and along the waterfront.
Excellent. Any other discussion? Councilor Dibble.
Thank you, Madam President. I too am amazed by her resume. It's quite an accomplishment. I have a question though. With regard to the Port Authority criteria, does a recreational boater meet the criteria for appointment to that board?
Councilor McCarthy.
If you look at the makeup of the Port Authority, it's basically knowledge and working knowledge of the, and I think her background with regards to, when you look at her resume, she does qualify. It has nothing to do with just being a recreational boater. It has to do everything else with what's in her resume, and she'll be a great addition.
Thank you. Any other comments? No? Okay, on Councilor Gerard's motion for...
By roll call vote.
Sorry?
Confirmation by roll call vote.
Yeah. On Councilor Gerard's motion for confirmation by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk, call the roll, please.
Councilor Turiel?
Yes.
Councilor Sargent?
Yes.
Councilor Ryan?
Yes.
Councilor McCarthy?
Yes.
Councilor Lovely?
Yes.
Councilor Gerard?
Yes.
Councilor Fury?
Yes.
Councilor Famico?
Yes.
Councilor Epley?
Yes.
Councilor Dibble?
Yes.
Councilor Milo?
Yes. Thank you. On the matter of the appointment of Colonel Megan Leclerc to the Salem Harbor Port Authority, we have 11 councilors voting, 11 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. The appointment carries. I'll entertain a suspension. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I would like ask for a suspension of the rules to allow Colonel Leclerc to address the council.
Thank you. Any objection? Seeing none, Colonel Leclerc?
Thank you. I'd just like to thank the council for giving me this opportunity. I'm really excited to see where this takes us. It's a really interesting undertaking, and I really look forward to working on it.
Thank you. Council McCarthy?
Move to return to the regular portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Council McCarthy moves to return to the regular portion of the meeting, which is actually public comment.
Madam
So,
President, could we stay on page 4 and do the other appointments for the department heads for Sarah Stenton and Whitney Haskell while there as well?
are they here? Okay, Councilor Famico moves to go back to page 4 and take up the matters of the two reappointments of
We'll just finish the
staff.
page.
Yeah, just finish the page. Just do Raymond Swartz. and then-
What's the actual request, Councilor Famico?
We can finish the page.
Okay, all right. So Councilor Famico would like us to go back to page 4 and pick up on the second appointment. So we'll go with further appointments. Madam Clerk?
Mayor's appointment of Raymond Swartz, 30 Ocean Ave, to serve as a member of the Bicycle Advisory Committee with a term to expire on February 9th, 2020.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move this be held under the rules.
Councilor Terrio moves that this be held under the rules. Further appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's reappointment of the following department heads with their terms to expire. Sarah Stanton, Finance Director, January 31st, 2020. Whitney Haskell, Purchasing Agent, January 31st, 2019.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for confirmation by roll call vote.
Councilor Gerard moves for confirmation by roll call vote. Any discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. I'll just be brief that Ms. Stanton and Ms. Haskell have been with the city for some time now, and they both do outstanding work, and I strongly support their reappointment.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Councilor Famico.
Yes, I know Whitney in particular has had a lot of things that she's been putting out to bid in the last couple of years for RFPs, so thank you for her work with that. And also a special thank you to Sarah Stanton, who brought us to where cities should be now with Salem Stat when she joined us years ago, and we're finally getting the data to really drive all of our departments, so I wanted to give her a special thank you for that.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Madam President. As an alumnus of the Administration and Finance Committee for the prior 3 years, I've worked with Sarah on the budget, and last year I was fortunate enough to be chair of the A&F Committee. She does a phenomenal job in making sure that we have not only a balanced budget, but a certified budget that wins awards. We are ahead of the game in terms of the cities and towns across the Commonwealth in terms of the quality of budgeting and accounting that takes place with our city. I know Whitney does a fantastic job too, but I've had a lot of direct work with Sarah.
Thank you. Councilor Fury.
Madam President, as the Dean of the City Council, I think we're really blessed to have Sarah and Whitney in charge of their departments. It makes our job so much easier. We're always there, available before meetings, after meetings, and we're very lucky to have you. Your award-winning budget process is recognized and respected throughout Massachusetts for your ability to put facts, figures, and budget through that's understandable for the public, for us, to easily use, right? It's a credit to you, to both of you. They're a great, great team, and we're lucky to have you serve longer. Thank you very much for serving.
Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also note that our colleague from Ward 1 has to recuse himself from this because Ms. Haskell's is related. But also just to authorize in support of both of these two, Ms. Haskell and Ms. Stanton have been tremendous assets for the city. Our purchasing process has improved significantly over the last several years. I recall some of the issues that we had in my first years on the council, and we've gotten even better at it since then. We've performed these services for other cities and towns as well. And at the same time, for Ms. Stanton, I think she's been an enormous asset to the city. I was the chair of A&F for the 2 years prior to last year, and working with her in the budget process, working with her with any financial questions, she's been terrific to work with, open, transparent, and very easy to, and she's been a real asset in that she can go out and she can get the data to support anything that they're asked, she can find you the data for it. And as has been mentioned also, with Salem Stat and the work that she's done there and helping to implement that, that's enabled a lot of our departments to do a better job of staying on top of requests and staying on top of tracking. So all the information in the city basically flows through that, and finance is a huge part of it. And I think the work that she's done has really brought the city a lot farther along. So I enthusiastically support them both.
Thank you. Any other discussion, comments? Okay, on Councilor Gerard's motion to confirm these appointments by roll call vote, Madam City Clerk?
Counselor Terrio?
Yes.
Counselor Sargent?
Yes.
Counselor Ryan?
Yes.
Counselor Lovely?
Yes.
Counselor Gerard?
Yes.
Counselor Fury?
Yes.
Counselor Famiko?
Yes.
Counselor Epley?
Yes.
Counselor Dibble?
Absolutely yes.
Counselor Milo?
Yes. Thank you.
Yes.
Sir, I'd ask you to please be quiet.
this guy?
Otherwise, we're going to have to ask you to leave. On the reappointment of Sarah Stanton, Finance Director, as Finance Director, and Whitney Haskell as Purchasing Agent, we have 11 councilors voting, 10 councilors voting, 1 recused, 10 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative. Welcome back. Thank you. Okay. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we now return again to our regularly scheduled portion of the meeting.
Thank you. Councilor Terrio moves that we move back to our regularly scheduled portion of the meeting, which actually brings us to public comment, which is the first part of the meeting. It looks like we have a lot of people here. There are a number of people signed up for public comment. We did leave a little note next to the sign-up sheet so that hopefully people understand what our rules are on the council, and you know, we are a body of rules. So our rules say public comment is for a 15-minute period, total. We want to be fair, and so what we've done is we actually have a system set up that worked really well at No Place for Hate, and we're going to allow every person to speak for a minute. When it gets close to the end of your minute, you can, I mean, I'm not saying you have to stare at Assistant Clerk Eileen Simons, but she's going to be holding, she'll hold up a little warning sign that says, you know, you have 10 seconds left. And at that point, if you haven't had an opportunity to complete your comments, we would welcome you to reduce the comments to writing and give them to the city clerk, or you can email them to her, however you'd like to do this. And we will all, you know, she'll distribute them among the city councilors. The other thing we want to be mindful of is that this is a city council meeting. We want to maintain decorum. I would ask that there be no outbursts. I would ask that there be no clapping, no cheering. The public comment period is an opportunity for you people to come and address us, and it's for us to listen. So you're not going to see an exchange in this forum. I expect that the subject matter that most of you, or I think probably all of you, have come to speak on will be moved to a committee, a subcommittee, and that will be the time and place to really have more of a dialogue. I know this is a matter that's important to many people for many different reasons. We want to give it the fair and equitable review and discussion that it deserves. And, you know, this is just the very, very first teeny step in what I expect will be, you know, a somewhat long process in terms of looking at Salem and looking at this particular ordinance that we expect is coming in. So with that, the first person on the list is Jeff Barsnell, and I ask as you, when you come up and make your comments, if you could please give your name and your address for the record.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Barsnell. I live at 7 West Terrace, and I'm minister of First Church in Salem, Unitarian Universalist. I am the minister of the oldest congregation in the city. I'm the head of one of the few institutions that was present at the founding of the city, in 1626 or 7. I am a leader of the Salem Interfaith Council along with my colleague, the Reverend Sylvester Romero, and we live during anxious times, and people are afraid and they're nervous, and I believe this city has an opportunity to stand up for the basic human rights of all of our residents by adopting the proposed Sanctuary for Peace ordinance. I understand there are concerns about Salem being threatened with a loss of federal funds, but we also understand that such a threat would be hard to enforce at best, depending on your definition of germane, and is an easy principle to hide behind. Passing this ordinance is in keeping with the values and the principles of this city, and is in keeping with our biblical values and tradition, a tradition that means something to many of us who live here in Salem. Indeed, Leviticus chapter 19 says, "The alien who resides with you shall be to you as a citizen among you. You shall love the alien or the foreigner as yourself, for you were foreigners in the land of Egypt. I am the Lord your God." You can also hear this in the Spanish version as,
"Como un natural de vosotros, tendréis a un extranjero como otro de vosotros, y lo amarás como a ti mismo, porque extranjeros fuisteis en la tierra de Egipto. Yo Jehová, vuestro Dios, les digo."
I stand before you right now representing more than 1,000 Salem residents and voters, and I encourage you to take seriously this ordinance.
Thank you. I would ask that everybody be mindful of this 1 minute, because we are going to have this period for only 15 minutes. So if somebody goes over, that's going to encroach on somebody else's time. Thank you. Next, we have Jeff Cohen.
Jeff Cohen, 12 Hancock Street, Salem, no place for hate, Chair. It is rare that we can truly make a difference, but this council, as was done in 2014 with the non-discrimination ordinance, can make a profound difference for those most affected in our community. Too many people think that people come here just because they want to, but many people leave their home, their culture, family, and friends fleeing oppression. My grandparents fled Russia, as many Jews did, for the same reasons. You represent all residents, whether they are able to vote or not, documented or not. To those who now need us most, we see you, we hear you, we're with you, and we hope that this council will do the right thing and stand up with and for you too. Thank you, friends, for coming.
Thank you, Jeff. Next, we have Alexandra Pinedo-Shields.
Good evening. I am Dr. Alexandra Pinedo-Shields. I live at 7 Bristol Street. I am the Executive Director of the Essex County Community Organization, and I have a PhD in immigration policy. Some people believe that the sanctuary ordinance will bring crime to the city. They don't know the facts. Every research study in the United States over the last 20 years has shown that immigrants do not bring crime. Many studies have found that immigrants are less likely to commit crimes than the native-born population, including one in the Journal of Quantitative Criminology. University of California recently found that sanctuary cities have a lower crime rate and better economic growth. Facts matter. Undocumented immigrants are not criminals. Being undocumented is an administrative violation, not a criminal one. Facts matter. Those who say, "I like immigrants that came legally," don't know the facts. Over 65% of immigrant families have mixed status, which means one person may have a green card and another may be undocumented. Undocumented immigrants are the mothers and fathers of the children in our schools. They are our aunts, our uncles, and our cousins. Perhaps the reason it was so easy to collect over 1,500 signatures in support of the sanctuary ordinance is because the people of Salem know that the undocumented are our neighbors.
Thank you. Next, we have Anna Nunzio.
My name is Ana Nuncio. I am president of the Latino Leadership Coalition, and I'm manager of settlement partnerships at the House of the Seven Gables in Salem. My purpose here is to ask our entire city council to engage with and advance the proposed ordinance to designate Salem as a sanctuary for peace. We know that there are protocols that you as city councilors can refer to that will allow you to transfer this urgent topic of Salem as a sanctuary city to another time and another place for further discussion, namely to a subcommittee. I ask this body to pause for a moment, look around, and begin to engage with this topic, to keep it under discussion before the whole committee. Surely there have been other urgent matters before you that you have treated in this way this year. I want to specifically call on councilors who I know have called upon the Latino Leadership Coalition for help in advancing their own political standing in the city. Councilors at large, such as Sargent, Lovely, Dibble.
Please, Anna, please, let's not make this personal.
I want those councilors to see us in our totality. Just as we helped you, we're asking you to stand with our immigrant community, all of us, and move this ordinance forward. Thank you.
What did we say? We're not going there. Okay? Next, we have Angela Arce. Ángela, hi.
Mi nombre es Ángela Arce, vivo en Salem por 17 años. Aporto mucho a la comunidad de Salem. Soy dueña de un negocio y empleo a 2 ciudadanas. Mi esposo también tiene negocio y también emplea a ciudadanos. Los dos pagamos nuestros impuestos de negocio y personal. Apoyo mucho a mi parroquia Inmaculada Concepción. Fui catequista para los niños de primera comunión. Soy voluntaria en los colegios de mis hijos, Bentley y Salem Academy, trabajando con los padres. También trabajo con el Salem, con el Point Neighborhood Association para mantener la seguridad de nuestro barrio. Y si vemos actividad de sospechosa o algo criminal, al momento notificamos. Finalmente, soy vicepresidente de Access Community Organization. Con ellos recogimos más de 22,000 firmas para subir el salario mínimo y conseguir días de enfermedad para los trabajadores de Massachusetts. Ahora vivo con una tortura psicológica porque tengo miedo de ser separada de mis hijos por ser indocumentada. Cuando fuimos a ver al Papa Francisco en Filadelfia, él dijo, las familias tienen ciudadanía que es divina. La carta de identidad que tienen se las da Dios. Les pido su protección a través de la ordenanza para un santuario de paz. Gracias.
Angela, may I ask that, well, if you could take those comments and translate them and email them to, it's going to take, time away from,
people would want to know.
All right, okay, then it'll just cut into
My
the
name is
15 minutes.
Angela, and I live in Salem for 17 years. I contribute greatly to the city. I am the owner of a business, and I employ 2 U.S. citizens. My husband also has his own business and employs citizens. We pay our taxes for our business and also our personal income tax. I am a member of Immaculate Conception Church, where I teach First Holy Communion classes. I volunteer in the school of my children, the Bentley School and Salem Academy Charter School, through the Parents Association. I also work with the Point Neighborhood Association to make sure that the Point is a safe community. If we have a crime watch and if we see something that is suspicious or criminal, we call immediately. Finally, I am the vice president of the Essex County Community Organization. With them, we collected 22,000 signatures to raise the minimum wage and get sick time for all workers. Every day I am living with psychological torture because I am afraid of being separated from my children because I am undocumented. When we went to see the Pope Francis in Philadelphia, he said, families have a divine citizenship. Their identity card was given to them by God. I ask for your protection through the ordinance for the Sanctuary for Peace.
Thank you. Please kindly refrain from clapping or any outbursts. We want to get through this. Thank you. Next is Robert Larkin, Jr.
Thank you. My name is Robert G. Larkin Jr., 16 William Street, Salem, Massachusetts. I was born on Federal Street and has since moved to William Street. I'm not going to address the merits of the proposal. I've looked at it. It has a lot more positives than negatives, but I just don't have time to get into it. So I just want to share with the group something I learned when I was in the military at Battery B down the street here in 1970, when I was in the Army active duty. And that is this: when you find yourself in a minefield, the smartest thing you can do is don't move. And I think Salem is right in the middle of a minefield for this reason. The Attorney General of the United States is about to come down like a ton of bricks, if I've got it right. I have no inside information on that. I just think that's coming. And I think it's going to surprise the heck out of everybody on the wrong side. And I think you're going to find there's a lot you're going to have to address, because it doesn't mention it in your proposal, what you're going to do about the Attorney General of the United States, not just that you agree with federal law and you intend to abide by it. What are you going to do when the Attorney General? So I think you ought to wait until you act on the proposal. Thank you. Until the Attorney General acts.
Okay, thank you, sir. Next, Jeffrey Gross. Jeffrey, thank you.
My name is Dr. Jeffrey Gross. I live at 2 Saltwall Lane. I'm also research director at the Massachusetts Immigrant and Refugee Advocacy Coalition. I want to address concerns raised by the President's executive order threatening to deny funding to sanctuary cities. The order threatens to withhold federal funding from sanctuary jurisdictions defined in the order as jurisdictions that willfully refuse to comply with Title 8, Section 1373 of the U.S. Code, or have policies that hinder the enforcement of federal law. But virtually all jurisdictions with sanctuary policies, including Salem, do comply with this law. The law prohibits state and federal governments only from restricting the exchange of information about citizenship or immigration status with federal government. Nothing in the ordinance or the Salem police policy prevents this exchange, and the policy, in fact, states its compliance with the U.S. Code. Sanctuary ordinances do not prevent the federal government from doing its job or prevent ICE from operating in our communities. They just seek to ensure that local police are not required to do the federal government's job and that the trust between the community and law enforcement is maintained. Finally, the executive order is likely unconstitutional on a number of grounds, including the 10th Amendment, which prohibits the federal government from requiring states or local entities to enforce federal law. I elaborate on these constitutional issues in my submitted written testimony. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Danielle Owen.
Good evening. My name is Danielle Owen, and I am an Irish immigrant and proud resident of Salem. I live at 14 Cambridge Street in Ward 2. I have worked in the 13 years I've been living in Boston and Massachusetts. I have worked with undocumented Irish immigrants, primarily offering healthcare and mental health care access. We used to run health screenings at the Holy Cross Cathedral in Boston, ensuring that people had access to healthcare and mental health care. One of our proudest moments was in helping a young man who had 2 U.S. citizen children. He himself was undocumented, and we managed to discover that through the screening, he had cancer that he would not otherwise have identified. So we managed to save his life and his family. I really encourage the City Council to ensure that we all feel safe, that we all are able to get health care that we need, not feel worried about calling the police whenever we need it. We need to send a very clear message that all residents are safe and secure, and we all can thrive and work together. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Reverend Aaron Engler. Reverend? Oh, there he is.
Good evening, Aaron Engler, resident of 7 Naples Road here in Salem, a pastor of High Rock Church and chair of Open Door Immigration Services. I just want to say that welcoming the foreigner and protecting them and protecting those who are most vulnerable is the 3rd most frequently uttered command in Scripture. And I'm honored to be part of a city that is taking that seriously, that it's considering ways in which they can protect the most vulnerable among us. And you've done the hard work of balancing and honoring federal regulations regarding immigration, as well as providing for the general safekeeping of our most vulnerable neighbors. And so I'd encourage you to consider this as an ordinance to pass. Thank you.
Thank you. Michael Mascolo.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Moscolo. I'm 40
Sorry.
English Street in Salem, Massachusetts. Think globally, act locally. First, the local. Why wouldn't we want to do this? Is it because we are afraid of losing federal funds? If there's a moral reason to do something, you don't stand down to it because a bully is there threatening you. Two, why would we do it? Because we're afraid of undocumented immigrants coming to the city? No reason to be afraid. Who are these people? They are hard-working people who work for less, and if we send them away, the price of lettuce will go up. We should support such people. Now, the national, the global. This is coming to us because of fear of immigrants from Mexico, from overseas, from refugees. People who come here from Mexico often leave their lives and risk their lives. Refugees who come from overseas are coming from hundreds of thousands of people who have died and been displaced. The proper response to such actions is the response of the heroes of World War II who risked their lives to help Jews who were being exterminated. We should honor them by symbolically doing the same thing, protecting immigrants.
Thank you. Joanne Sims.
Hi, my name's Joanne Sims. I live at Quadrant Road in Salem. And I'd just like, please explain to me what part of illegal is legal. This sounds like an alternative fact. This is embranglement. This demeans those who come here legally. How do you sanction criminals? If citizens aid and abet criminals, they face jail time. Also, we should not be forced to sacrifice any federal funding, no matter what the amount. And I agree with the concept of no place for hate, but it doesn't mean I have to like what people do if it's not legal. So I'd just like a lot more explanation before any of this goes forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Jennifer Meager. Did I pronounce that correctly?
Yes, Meager.
Okay, thank you.
Jen Meager, 27 Lemon Street. I'm just a resident, and I just wanted to briefly say police departments of sanctuary cities throughout the country have said that ordinances like this make their cities safer, and I think that that's a really important consideration. And also, Salem is a place where we welcome our neighbors, and we look out for each other, and we try to help each other out. So I think that this is an important ordinance that should pass, and I hope that you'll consider it.
Thank you. Michelle Richardson.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Richardson. I live at 29 Albion Street in Salem, Mass. I have returned home. This was a city where I came to when I first moved here from New York. The last time Salem succumbed to fear, we did an extraordinary injustice that thrives in tourism today with the Witch City. The last time we succumbed to the status quo, we did the same thing, and we learned our lesson. And since then, Salem became an all-inclusive city. We had an Irish section, a French section, an Italian section. No one here can say that they're original. We all came off a boat. We all came in a plane. We all crossed over somehow. And when we forget that, and we forget the sight of the people that are standing in this room united in a cause to protect and to provide sanctuary. Look at the faces, look at the hues, look at the textures of hair. We are standing here as one to ask you to not forget the lessons we learned when we succumbed to fear of the higher powers that be. I thank you for your time, and I will hopefully be able to come back and speak more on this when you take your time and realize that we have never been known for not being defiant.
Our tunnels, those white chimneys are proof of that. Thank you.
Thank you. Please refrain from applause. Gypsy Murphy.
Hi, thank you. I'm Dr. Gypsy Murphy. I live at 35 Essex Street. I'm a professor at Endicott College, and I've been teaching at North Shore Community College for the last 11 years. I'm an American Indian, and I'm a Jew, so we didn't all actually come here. My people have been here since forever on one side of the family. Just saying. But I welcome all the immigrants from 1492 onward, and as a person of faith, I love my neighbors as myself, and I don't ask for their papers when I extend that love. And as a professor, I have been teaching at North Shore Community College for over a decade, and I have had literally scores of students who would be termed illegal, not a noun, never a noun, not just as an educator, but as a human being. And I know they've enriched our community, they've enriched my school, and I'm back in grad school getting a master's in Holocaust and Genocide Studies, and I can tell you as a Jew, this world is looking a lot like 1933 Germany, and it is important that we stand on the right side of history, that when we look back on this, we know the importance of that. And I remember the words of one of my students who I can't quote because he doesn't have the paperwork to back it up at present, but I like to think he'd be safe here. And he said, I grew up third world poor, not first world poor, as in I didn't know dirt floors came in anything other than dirt until I was almost a man. He's now in grad school. He came here to get the education and a better life. That's what everyone here wants. And we can stand together on the right side of history and love our neighbors as ourselves. And I feel blessed to be in a community that's proposing that. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have
This is April 24, 1851. We are in 2017, and funny how 165 years did not change us. We're still thinking the same place. I'm coming here from a point none of you is gonna like it. In a city where our police ask you your citizenship, your status, and even how you can afford a car, I think it is very important that we protect people against this kind of action. I don't think the ordinance goes enough because many of you are afraid we might lose funds, federal funds, if we do not put that our officials and city employees cannot deal with any agency if it's only because of immigration status. Anything else you deal with them. But immigration status should be a non-reason to cooperate with anybody. But we are afraid to lose funds. Sorry, but you are selling our citizens for federal money. And that's what is going on in the White House now. They want to scare you with the money, and you are being scared. I say we need to wait to see what the courts decide on all the executive orders and whatever crap he's coming up with. Then we shouldn't bend down now. We need to go full steam, and we protect our people in every way possible. And I don't care about federal fund. Destroying one family is worth way than all the millions Donald Trump is going to give us. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the last speaker we have is Kirsten. Thank you, sir. Good night. Kirsten Fishlitz?
Your voice won't be.
Kirsten? I'm sorry, what was it?
Hi, my name is Kirsten Fischler, and I live at...
Fischler. Oh, it looked like a Z, sorry.
At 11 Herbert Street. Hola a todo. One of the things that I would like to say is that I feel that this is a witch hunt. And it's a modern witch hunt that we've seen in many times throughout history. One of the things that I would like to say is that during the Second World War, when they started into ethnic cleansing, which I think this is the beginning of ethnic cleansing, is that people who are of Eastern Slavic descent were not considered white. my family's homeland, the people there were considered not white. They were considered to be ethnic minorities. They were in the Carpathian Peninsula, and they were known as Lemko. When the Poland came in, they kicked them out of their ancestral homeland, and most of them ended up in the United States and Canada. When you start down the slippery slope of starting to rid people for different reasons, it becomes very dangerous. And I say this because there are two self-proclaimed white supremacists in the office. They are giving the excuse of immigration, but this goes far beyond this, and we need to look at this and we need to recognize it for what it is. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, that concludes our public comment period. We have a couple other folks who would like to speak, and I ask that we suspend the rules.
Move to suspend the rules.
Thank you. Any objection? Okay, I'd ask Representative Paul Tucker to come forward, and then I understand that Dominic Pangallo has a letter from the mayor that he would like to read. Thank you, Representative.
Thank you, Madam President, and through you to the members of the council, I appreciate the courtesy today. I've given quite a bit of thought about what I would say this evening on this topic. And yesterday at the State House, two things helped to crystallize for me and help sharpen my focus as to what my remarks would be. The first was the celebration of the centennial birth of President John Kennedy. And in yesterday's event in the House chamber, we listened to an audio tape of President Kennedy's speech entitled City on a Hill. It was given January 9th, 1961. President Kennedy had been elected but not yet sworn in. And in his speech, City on a Hill, he talked about the things that shaped his life, the things that would help him in the White House, the role that Massachusetts would play, and the things that would help him in what he called that high, lonely office. And I quote from his speech, because I think it's instructive today. "We do not imitate, for we are a model to others, the enduring qualities of Massachusetts, the common thread woven by the Pilgrim and the Puritan, the fisherman and the farmer, the Yankee and the immigrant. They will not be and could not be forgotten in this nation's executive mansion. They are an indelible part of my life, my convictions, my view of the past, and my hope for the future." I found it instructive in President Kennedy's words, a speech of precious few words where he affirmed the past and present importance of our immigrants. A short, powerful speech with carefully chosen words that matter, because words do matter. It's particularly important this evening, considering what this ordinance seeks to accomplish. It's important for what the ordinance will do, and it's important for what it will not do. Speaking with 34 years of law enforcement experience, this ordinance will not create a safe haven for criminals. It will allow the Salem Police Department to continue to do their job within the law, within the jurisdiction that they have, while maintaining the trust of all communities. The second thing that happened yesterday was when a colleague of mine spoke up in our Democratic caucus. His name is Ratty Mum. Ratty was a freshman with me last year. We just started our second term together. And the issue of sanctuary cities, Trust Act, a potential ban on travel, a Muslim registry, and that moved Ratty to stand up yesterday in front of the Democratic caucus and talk about his journey from the killing fields of Cambodia to this country. He talked about the hopes, the dreams, the expectations. He talked about the fear and the trepidation that he had, which culminated in him becoming the first elected Cambodian immigrant to the Massachusetts legislature, what I would call an American success story. It was very powerful, very emotional, it was very raw. The third part that I wanted to pass on, while it may not directly impact this ordinance, is something that struck me in my first term. I went to Salem High School, and I spoke to the Honor Society. I gave a speech at the induction. It went very well. The next morning, I got an email from one of the parents that were there. And they said, by the way, one of the young men that you inducted into the Honor Society and who met all of the academic credentials for that success just found out that he cannot attend Westfield State University because he came here as a very, very young child. He fell into that undocumented category, was not eligible for in-state tuition, and was not eligible for student loans because as a young child he came here and became undocumented. I found that terribly sad and fundamentally unfair. I urge the citizens of Salem, read this ordinance yourself. Don't rely on someone else's summary. Don't rely on secondhand information or some other sources. Read it yourself. Make an informed decision. I urge the councilors in your deliberations to understand the fear of our immigrant community, while also understanding the fear that some of our long-term residents have. I ask you to reach a resolution, one that's balancing and respecting humanity, dignity, and the rule of law enforcement. Because while some may say that these are mutually exclusive, I say to you, they are not mutually exclusive, and it can be done. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Rep. Tucker. Dominic Pangallo is Dominic. Oh, Chief Butler. We have Chief Butler here also, who would like to speak. Thank you, Chief.
Madam President, esteemed City Council members, thank you so much for actually having this and allowing people to talk about this particular proposed ordinance before you. I think this is really an important matter for this entire city. If you asked me a year ago if I thought that we should venture down a path of a sanctuary city, I would have emphatically said no. My point of reference at that particular point was focused on all the negative media about sanctuary cities. Specifically, the notion that sanctuary cities actually provide a place for undocumented criminals and persons to hide and to be protected or shielded. Reading President Trump's executive orders, to listen to his comments about his tough stance on sanctuary cities, also provides some reason for pause. But fast forward to where we are actually today and what we've learned. We know that there really is no one true definition of a sanctuary city, and because of the ambiguity, the terms sort of become a lightning rod. But particular knowledge changes the view and opens up the possibility for greater understanding. It forces you to research and read about what sanctuary cities mean to other cities and towns, how they've addressed it, what the law says, what court decisions have said, and then ask exactly how are we going to determine what our community stands for. So throughout the process of learning and pondering what we should do now, I realized that it would take very little effort to move in a direction that documents what we currently do, how we currently operate, and with regards to specifically with regards to one's immigration status. Because currently, what we do is recorded in the documents before you. And then I thought about how, in light of this, that documenting what we do and how we operate for several years, that this knowledge might actually alleviate some of the fears and the concerns of some of the members of our community who believe that they could find themselves facing deportation. This effort was undertaken to document to our community what we haven't, what we don't, and what we won't do, which is discriminate. This effort was undertaken to inform folks in our community that their local police have no authority to enforce the immigration law, federal immigration law, and our officers will be there to provide service to anybody in need at any time. Finally, there was no difficulty in this effort to document that if anyone, regardless of his or her immigration status, violates the law, hurts others, or presents a public safety threat to this community or to the nation, we will find them, arrest them, and bring them to justice. Nothing in this ordinance or within the policy of the police department deviates from what we do normally. Nothing in either document violates the law under Title VIII. Nothing in the law requires us to ask about immigration status. Nothing in the law mandates that we maintain records about people's immigration status. And lastly, nothing in the law provides that local law enforcement have jurisdictional authority over enforcing federal immigration law. I'm pleased to state that throughout the process of putting this together, that the committee was united around a clear understanding that this effort was never intended to harbor criminals, but rather to stand by the Constitution that allows for the freedom of movement without interference of police unless there's probable cause. And if local law enforcement cannot enforce immigration law, then the only probable cause that exists is it within the state, the criminal laws of the state and the city. So I want to acknowledge that I'm sure that there's varying opinions about this matter, both within this chamber and within our community. And everyone's entitled to those opinions. And everyone's entitled to voice those opinions without regret or recourse. Law enforcement operates under two different standards, both the actual tenets of identifiable crime, but also on the perception of crime. So I, for one, believe that identifiable peace and the perception of peace must equally coexist for there to be true value. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief. Dominic?
Thank you. I'm reading a statement on behalf of Mayor Driscoll, who's not able to be here this evening. Madam President, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, thank you for your forbearance in regards to this letter, and I deeply regret that I'm not able to be with you in person this evening. The question of how we treat one another is the moral basis of our government. Are we advancing policies that keep our community safe, or will we allow the corrosion of community policing in the name of fear? Are we providing services impartially to all who walk through the doors of City Hall, or do we pick and choose who is deserving of public services? The ordinance that has been submitted to you says the following. 1, city services are to be provided to all residents who so qualify, regardless of immigration status, unless provision of said service violates state or federal law. This, in many respects, adds immigration status to our existing non-discrimination ordinance. 2, city employees shall not ask for immigration status from a resident in providing a service unless they are required to do so by state or federal law. These employees do not now, unless required by law, do so. However, this will codify this practice. No one should have to show their papers to get a library card, call the fire department to put out a fire, ask that their street be plowed, or walk into their child's school to meet with a teacher. 3, Salem police officers shall abide by the existing police department policy, which states that officers of the department shall not undertake immigration-related investigations, nor shall they routinely inquire the immigration status of any person during normal police operations unless required by law. 4, in compliance with existing federal law, the city shall not discriminate in employment matters on the basis of immigration status, and all persons hired by the city shall be required to verify identity and eligibility to work in the United States. This is our current practice, and this ordinance simply codifies this into law. 5, nothing in the ordinance shall confer additional benefits to immigrant residents of Salem. 6, An inclusion advisory committee shall be formed to advise city officials on how best to provide services and information in a manner that protects and supports the civil rights of all residents. Nothing in the ordinance before you violates state or federal law, nor would it result in a loss of federal funding to the city, even by the standards set forth in the President's recent executive order. To those who object to the label of this proposal, I only ask you to read the actual ordinance itself. Nothing in this document is any different than how we did business in Salem 2 weeks ago, 2 months ago, or even 2 years ago. Why then do we need it? Because our ordinances have more permanence than a simple policy, and the men and women in this room are forward-thinking, but who knows who may sit at these desks in generations to come. Because when something is so fundamentally important as treating others fairly, we shouldn't shirk to put it in writing and in our laws, especially at a national moment when it needs more than ever to be made plain and clear. And most importantly, because there is a real fear among our thousands of immigrant neighbors, regardless of their status. When we adopted unanimously our landmark non-discrimination ordinance just a few short years ago, we sent a clear message that we collectively viewed Salem as a city that valued community safety and inclusivity. Perhaps no other place in America has the same relationship with the tragic lessons of what can transpire when those in power reject those values. I mentioned the fear in our immigrant community. 325 years ago, Salem struggled with a crisis that saw fear used as a weapon against those who were perceived to be different. It's my hope that the lessons and the legacy from our own tragic historic episode here in Salem can serve as a cautionary example. Distrust, division, and hate will never create a more secure environment in our city. It will only undermine it. In Salem, we continue to view local law enforcement through a community policing lens. We know that when local law enforcement is able to foster strong collaborative relationships with the communities that they protect, everyone is safer. If local police were to play a role in enforcing federal laws related to deportation, it would only serve to erode trust in local law enforcement among many of our immigrant families. We do not want our immigrant friends and neighbors to fear calling police, or to be less likely to report crimes or cooperate with local law enforcement. Moreover, we don't expect the Salem Police to enforce federal tax laws, federal labor laws, federal workplace safety rules, or by and large any other violation of federal administrative law. Salem Police are not federal police. Beyond the public safety arguments, it has also been proven that cities that welcome and include immigrants are more prosperous than those that do not, with higher median incomes, lower poverty levels, and slightly lower unemployment rates. There is a reason why the most diverse cities in America are also its most prosperous, its hubs of innovation and growth, and the lifeblood of our national economy, as well as the social service programs that millions of Americans in red states and blue states alike rely upon to survive. When communities protect all of their residents see economic benefits. When communities enact policies that keep families intact, the household's economic integrity is enhanced, contributing to the enhancement of the community's economic integrity. To be clear, nothing in this ordinance prevents federal authorities from enforcing federal laws and policies in Salem. Nothing in this ordinance prohibits Salem Police from sharing information with federal officials. It is entirely possible and indeed desirable for local police to communicate with and collaborate with federal law enforcement authorities. However, it is not the role of our local police department to enforce federal law. In fact, the 10th Amendment to our Constitution ensures that no federal statute or executive order can compel or commandeer a local police force to carry out a federal policy. This separation of powers, this dual sovereignty, was so important to our founders that they incorporated it into the Bill of Rights itself. In addition, this ordinance does not violate federal law or any executive order. This proposed ordinance will not, therefore, disqualify the city from federal funding. It does not protect any criminal, whether or not they are an undocumented immigrant, from deportation. And it does not shield undocumented immigrants who are found guilty of a criminal act from deportation pursuant to federal statute. While Salem is known for its rich and diverse history, we also benefit from a rich and diverse immigrant population over our nearly 400-year history. Salem was founded by immigrants and built by immigrants. Our shores have welcomed waves of newcomers from all manner of nations and continents, all of whom helped to shape our community's economic and social fabric, and all of whom continue to this day to bring cultural and linguistic diversity to our streets, our neighborhoods, and our schools. As the council continues this conversation about how our community will treat those who live among us who are not fortunate enough to have been born here, I hope we will be able to do so with respect and an awareness that our incredible city has a nearly 4-century legacy of being a safe and welcoming home to immigrants seeking a place in America to make a better lives for themselves and their families. We should not turn our backs on that legacy, and we should not turn our backs on them. In Salem, equal rights is not just a slogan. It's a value that inspires us to tangible, meaningful action, and it is deeply and directly connected to our history. From a town where neighbors once turned so viciously and so terribly on each other, we've become instead a community where we turn toward each other. The legacy that marred Salem then is part of what drives the positive actions we take today to lift up our city. So I close with the same thought with which I opened. The question of how we treat one another is indeed the moral basis of our government. And there could be no truer test of that question than this. Thank you, and I look forward to continuing this dialogue with you in a positive and open-minded fashion. Respectfully, Kimberly Driscoll, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Madam President. If we could go out of order and turn to page 8.
Sure.
To the ordinance regarding city services relative to immigration status and an inclusionary advisory committee.
Councilor Epley. Excuse me first, any objection to going out of order from the, well?
Ordinance amending Chapter 2, Administration, by adding the following new article, Article 17, City Services Relative to Immigration Status, Inclusionary Advisory Committee.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this matter be moved to the Committee of the Whole with the request that the meeting be held in a location accommodating a larger in-person audience and that it be held live on SATV.
Second. Second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay, on Councilor's motion, seconded by Councilor Turiel, under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. Let me start by saying thank you to the overwhelming support given by the Salem voters who have reached out to me and to my colleagues toward this initiative. The petition circulated by supporters, as was noted earlier during public commentary, in just the past couple of weeks has already totaled over 1,500 Salem signatures. We have 43,000 people in Salem, and that's already a sizable amount of people. I also want to thank the several individuals who have voiced concerns about this ordinance for reaching out to me as well. I believe that dispelling some misinformation or confusion will help many of those individuals to either support or at the very least feel less fearful or concerned about this proposal. And I do look forward to that discussion. Next, I just want to outline the process from here. The president, our president indicated that this matter will go to committee. That's the motion that I just made, and we will have a discussion about that. Presuming that we pass that motion to commit to committee, then today really marks the starting point for deliberation by the City Council. We've already heard from some members of the public this evening on this issue during public comment period. And once this is referred to committee, we will have many of the other questions asked at that time by the public or statements made by the public in the committee meeting. That's where most of the public commentary can take place. And as the president mentioned, that is where there can be a lot more dialogue. The City Council meeting, but then it would be sent back to the City Council. So the City Council meeting, just like tonight, will only have limited public comment time. So again, go to the committee meeting in order to get your voice heard. Now to the substance. This is about Salem staying and remaining Salem. We're not doing anything new, folks. This is about staying true to our longtime and present community policing practices, ensuring that all members of the community, regardless of color, religion, language spoken, or national origin, and yes, whether documented or undocumented, can call our Salem police and know that our men and women in blue will respond quickly to the domestic disturbances, the property crimes, and sometimes violent crimes within our city without fear. Again, let me be clear. Adopting this ordinance changes not one iota of present policy for Salem, but instead codifies that community police practice into policy. Violent criminals will still be arrested, regardless of their documentation status, and no one will harbor criminals with this policy or this ordinance. And let's talk about what a criminal is. There is no person that is illegal. Every person is legal. It's a question on documentation. That's a different question. But there is no illegal person. There are immigrants who are documented and undocumented. Many of the undocumented immigrants entered this country legally with a visa and have overstayed that visa. They didn't smuggle across the border. There are some that did. There's no question, but there are many who came here legally and then overstayed their visa. Many of the undocumented immigrants entered this country as young children and have grown into adults. Many of the undocumented immigrants here in Salem have lived here for many years, including Angela, who disclosed this in several public meetings now. And that shows her courage and her commitment to speaking to power about why this is important for Salem, why this is important as a response to what has been a national conversation that, like it or not, we are part of now, and that we need to respond. This is part of that response. While by definition, undocumented immigrants have violated federal immigration law, that is not criminal. Violating immigration law is not criminal. It's not a civil matter either. As Dr. Piñeros noted, it is a federal administrative violation. The national discussion of what immigration reforms should be enacted or avoided are certainly appropriate for our federal authorities, including our federal lawmakers, Representatives Moulton, Senators Markey and Warren, as well as our new president. We are not changing federal policy. That's beyond our jurisdiction. The federal government is solely responsible for enforcement of federal administrative law, including immigration. That is not and has never been the responsibility of state or local authorities. Where we have historically and will continue to do under this new ordinance and police department policy is to cooperate with federal immigration officials when a violent criminal also happens to be an undocumented immigrant or a documented immigrant or a citizen. We want that. Our community wants that. Salem wants that. The documented and the undocumented immigrant communities want that. We are not interested what we're not interested in doing is having local police serve as deputy immigration officials. The new president, in his executive order and in his press accounts, says that he plans to withhold federal funds from jurisdictions identified as sanctuary cities. I agree that principle is more important than federal funding. That's me. But we're voting on this, and this still ensures federal funding. Our city solicitor, our city police chief, and our mayor all believe that we are on firm legal ground, that we are compliant with present federal law, including the recent executive order from the president. As such, no federal funding is in danger. Further, my understanding is that even in much more bold sanctuary city ordinances, like in San Francisco, for example, or even Somerville here in Massachusetts, any endangered federal funding, if it in fact were endangered, would need to be specifically tied to the immigration issue or the public safety matter, not a carte blanche, full withholding of federal funding in the areas of health, education, welfare, transportation, etc. In other words, I've heard numbers bandied about we in Salem receive approximately $11 million or some round number like that in federal funding. The schools are going to continue to get the federal funding. The transportation is going to continue to get the federal funding. The only thing that potentially, and that's not for this ordinance, but in a Somerville-like sanctuary city or that's the only potential where there could be, and that would be related to immigration and public safety. But as our current police chief As our prior police chief and state representative have indicated, this is the right thing to do for law enforcement in a community policing environment and city like Salem. Further, our state office holders, including Governor Charlie Baker, have indicated that the state would attempt to shore up any lost federal funds for any affected sanctuary city jurisdictions. So the question is, why go to the extent to calling this a Salem Sanctuary for Peace, a human rights declaration? And you'll note that when I first introduced this and the city clerk reported it, in the actual document itself, it doesn't use the word sanctuary city. But our working group knew that it would be called that one way or the other. And we could stay silent on it, but our detractors would call it a sanctuary city anyway. And also, this is very important. Within our Latino immigrant community, whether citizen, documented, undocumented, there is a significant cultural tie, and to Roman Catholics among them, a religious tie to the term sanctuary. This is very meaningful. And that is where we took leadership from our Latino members among our working group. Again, as I mentioned, and you saw, Chief Butler, as well as Representative Tucker, have shown their full support for this measure. If we pass, this is one of the most proud moments I have had in serving in City Council. One of the other times was when we passed the non-discrimination policy in my first term. I believe we can pass this. I believe that among my colleagues, I believe that we can work together to ensure that this gets passed. I would also disagree slightly with Madam President in saying that this will take a long time. I don't think this will take a long time. I think that we need to hear from the community. We need to work as a body, and we have the opportunity with all 11 of us serving on the committee for the whole in providing for any potential amendments or votes related to that. So with that, I would ask that we have Salem remain Salem, and that we simply codify what we've always been.
Thank you, Councilor. Councilor Lovely, then Councilor Turrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I want to thank Councilor Repley for his eloquent remarks. He's put a lot of time into this, and for that I give him my respect. But as a point of order, Madam President, the rules of the City Council require that any orders, motions, or resolutions, ordinance changes are required to go to a standing committee. I would suggest that the ordinance be referred to the Committee on Ordinance and Legal Affairs, co-posted with the City Council, with the codicil that a public hearing be held in a forum that will accommodate all the people of Salem, whether it's the Salem High School, the Bentley School, or someplace that we can have a comfortable area where people can come and voice their opinion, ask their questions, and I believe that the Council on Ordinance and Legal Affairs, chaired by Councilor Ryan, will act appropriately to set the public hearing, make sure that everybody can attend, and we can co-post it with the Committee of the Whole. The Committee of the Whole, as I pointed out when we had a great discussion under the rules, isn't a standing committee, and it's required that anything that comes before the council that's not acted on is going to be referred, has to be referred to a standing committee. So we are a nation of laws. We are a council of rules. I would hope that we would respect those rules and that we could have a fair hearing for everybody to have their say before the City Council Committee on Ordinance and Legal Affairs. It is an ordinance. The committee is set up to work on ordinances. We can co-post, as we've often done, with the Committee of the Whole, if that's the wish. The Committee of the Whole, without boring the people who are here, is a vehicle by which, when the council is in session, like for this evening, can adjourn to a Committee of the Whole and act upon a matter and then refer back to the council. While you're in session, those are our rules, and our rules, I hope that the council will abide by this. Everybody will have the opportunity to speak, but it's very important in this climate that we follow our rules, and that's all. So I hope that you would rule that the motion to refer to committee with co-posting with committee of the whole, with its mandate to have a public hearing, will be standing.
So just to be clear, Counselor, your motion is to move it to OLA?
Yes.
Okay.
Co-posted with the committee on the whole, with the codicil that a public hearing be held.
Okay.
Appropriate forum.
Okay. I'm just going to interject here, which is something I don't normally do, just so maybe folks can follow along as to what's happening here. As I said earlier, and as we all affirmed earlier, we are a body of rules. I'm the president of this body. It's up to me to ensure that we follow the rules. Councilor Lovely is correct in that our rules state that every agenda item that comes before us, if it's referred to a committee, it needs to be referred to one of our 5 standing committees. Those 5 standing committees are delineated in our rules. And we also have an order in which motions are taken up. So what happened here is Councilor Repley made a motion, and it was seconded by Councilor Turiel. Now we have Councilor Lovely making a motion, and I'm going to ask shortly if there is a second for that motion. And what happens in our rules is we take up the most recent motion before we take up the initial motion. So just so that you can follow what's going on here, we have a motion on the floor by Councilor Lovely to move this to OLA, co-posted with the caveat of a public hearing.
Yes.
Does that summarize it?
It does.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilor Sargent. Under discussion?
No.
Councilor Epley.
Parliamentary, actually, I would ask for a ruling from the chair. The primacy of, have you ruled my original motion out of order?
No, but we're just taking the most recent motion up.
No, that's not the proper procedure. In my understanding of the rules, Madam President, is that the first motion governs, and that is acted upon. That is the proper procedure. If Madam President wishes to rule my original motion out of order, that's a different question. So I would leave it to the chair as to which we're dealing with. First, we have to deal with the primacy of motions minus first, because it came first.
Okay, I'm going to go with Councilor Lovely, Councilor Turiel, Councilor...
I refer you to Section 6, which is Rule 6. And when a matter comes before the City Council, there's a specific order that takes place if there are conflicting or different orders. And it says that it shall be done in the following order: to a standing committee of the council. So whatever number of motions were made prior to lay on the table, to adjourn, whatever it may be, the motion pursuant to Section 6 or Rule 6, as we refer to it, is the following order: to a standing committee of the council. So that would take precedence under the rules, that the referral would be to the standing committee of the council. And that's Rule 6 of our rules. It's very difficult to read this in the manual, but suffice to say that people are here and they want to have this move forward. We need to go forward according to our rules. I'm sure Councilor Ryan is perfectly capable of conducting the meeting, but these are our rules, that the precedent is a standing committee of the council. And I refer you to the book if you like.
Madam President, I would ask for a ruling on my motion being heard first.
On your... All right, I'll allow Councilor Fieri first to make a comment.
Thank you. As the Dean of the City Council, no issue in my 20 years of consecutive service in the City of Salem fits the category of the Committee of the Whole. Each of us has the responsibility. It's our primary responsibility as elected officials to bring people together. In the Committee of the Whole, this is the 21st century, and I think most people are not really interested in technicality of procedural laws. But all of us will be having a vote. All of us can talk and discuss and vote and have an equal share. If we send it to an individual committee, as the Committee of Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs, we have a chairman and 4 members plus. Only they can vote. The others can discuss and talk. The public can be invited and should be invited in a public meeting in the past. But I think this particular issue affecting all of us across the city of Salem, every single member of this city council, I think it would be in the best interest. I have total confidence and respect that Councilor Ryan, as the chairman of Ordinance, License and Legal Affairs, will do a very professional job. But I think it's the best interest for all of us in the 21st century to put it to the Committee of the Whole. We'll all have equal share in a vote in this situation. We deserve the vote. We have the vote if we do it in the Committee of the Whole. Thank you, Councilor. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Counselor, I will make the ruling. As the president of the council, I am going to follow the rule that says every matter needs to be referred to one of the 5 standing committees. So I will allow Counselor Lovely's motion.
I move to overrule the decision of the chair.
Okay, all right. On Counselor Epley's motion to overrule the decision of the chair, do you want a hand count, or?
Yes. Discussion?
Oh, excuse me, right, discussion.
First needs to actually be a
Well,
second.
is there a second?
Sure. Second.
Okay, seconded by a number of people. Now under discussion.
This is, at this point, all I know of in terms of counselors who have the opinion of both the president and the Ward 3 counselor are the president and the Ward 3 counselor as to the whether the Committee of the Whole can take up substantive matters. What has happened in the past, Madam President, including when I've both been on the committee and been on this council and not been on the council, prior to my coming on the council, the City Council, including many of the people currently sitting on these tables, referred the senior center issue to the Committee of the Whole. In addition, Madam President, the issue of civil service and whether or not our police chief would be in civil service was not referred to a regular subcommittee. Instead of that was referred to the Committee of the Whole. With the web project last year, not all, but some of the matters were referred to the Committee of the Whole. It is my opinion, and if Madam President is correct in her discussion, then that puts in question several of the decisions that we've rendered in the past with the Committee of the Whole. And I don't think we want to necessarily go down that road. At best, I think it's unclear as to whether the Committee of the Whole can take the matter, but it's certainly been the practice of this body for several years. Perhaps that didn't happen in the early 1980s, but it has been for the 20 years that the dean of our council, as well as the next most senior member, that's been the practice.
Thank you. Councilor Lovely, Councilor Terrio.
I'll just read the rule to the council. It's Rule 6. It's very difficult to read. It's very small. I had a copy in my desk, but the presiding officer shall propound all questions in the order of which they are moved, unless in regard to any subject, different committees are presented. The question shall be taken in the following order: to a standing committee of the council. That's the rule. So if we're not going to follow the rules, we probably shouldn't be sitting here. That is the rule. So that is what we should do.
Thank you. Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. What I can say at this point is that we're spending far too much time and far too much of the time of the people in this room on the procedural matters of this and not really discussing the substantive issue or even the decision. The Committee of the Whole, for what it's worth, this is my 6th year on the council, and as long as I've been on this body, the Committee of the Whole has been a tool used to deal with, to put it inelegantly, the big issues. We've done that practice for years before. We've done that practice as long as the members who are currently sitting on this body in continuous service have been on this body, have been sitting on this body. I inquired last year when this question first came up that about how long this has been going on. It's been going on for decades, that we've used the committee of the whole as a tool. Now, for whatever reason, I can't speculate as to why nobody has bothered in city councils years past to look at the rules and say, hey, well, we use the committee of the whole for, for some of these issues. We ought to really just put it in there as a regular old standing committee. I don't know why nobody made that decision to bring that forward in years past. I just know it's something that they've done. So the council does have rules, and we have rules that are supposed to fill the gaps of any of the rules that we don't have in our rule book. We have Cushing's orders, we have or Cushing's manual, I apologize. We have our rules, and we also have decades of custom and tradition and practice to go on, essentially the equivalent of what we call common law. Our practice in years past has been to take matters like this and put them in the committee of the whole, where they are presided over traditionally by the president, although in Cushing's manual there's a provision that the president steps out and is replaced by another member. That's not the tradition we've used, but it's the tradition we had, and I dealt with this last year. I think the bottom line on this is that's based on the practices the council passed. The committee of the whole is an appropriate venue for this, however we call it. I do believe it's an appropriate place for us to work with this. I think it's a good venue which any of us can offer amendments, offer suggestions, and actually be counted. And I think that especially in a case like this, where we're talking about some of the fundamentals of how we operate the city in a democratic fashion, I think having democracy in the city council in that regard in the committee is a worthwhile endeavor. Ultimately, when I look at the issue before us, and I hope we can resolve this parliamentary part of it very quickly because we have a lot to do. But as far as the core issue itself, I look forward to it being heard. I look forward to being able to vote. I do have a few questions about it. About some of the police procedures and some of the primacy issues there. I have some legitimate questions that I think can be clarified, and I'm really interested to hear what they are. But as far as the core issue itself and the core goals of what the city is and what the city has to be, I was thinking about this a little bit when I first decided that I expected to support this. Both of my parents are ultimately from immigrant families. My mother came from the Taylor family, which was the first family to come to New England by boat. And some members of the family swam out to meet him, more or less. So I have ancestors on both sides of that. But my father's family, his father, I'm only the second generation born in this country from that family. They came over here on a cramped boat from the island of Rhodes on an Italian passport at the time, because that island was being kicked around between the Ottomans and the Italians and everybody else who had a piece of the Aegean Sea after World War I. He came here in a time of massive displacement and refugees coming who were leaving a devastated land from the First World War to come to a land of greater opportunity. And he was processed through Ellis Island and settled in Brooklyn and raised a family, and his 3 sons and a daughter, and his oldest son wound up bringing me into the world. But they came to Ellis Island in the shadow of the Statue of Liberty, and I sincerely believe that the words on the Statue of Liberty are words that we should be living by. And I think we should be a place where everybody should ultimately yearn to breathe free. And that's the most important thing in keeping this society going, keeping the society vital, keeping the city vital, and really respecting that everybody came here for a reason. Everybody came here with a story. And not all these people who came here with a stamp on their passport, but they came here for a better life and a better existence. And when all they want to do is live in peace and try and work and send their kids to school and have a good life, I think we should be all behind that. So the principles of this are, even though I have a couple of questions about the execution, the principles of this I stand absolutely behind. And I do believe that this is best addressed in a forum where the entire city council can have a say on it. And our customary use of the committee of the whole right up and through most of last year, I feel is the best way to do that. And if it requires that we have, a vote in order to enable that, then so be it. But I do believe that's how we should proceed forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
I'll be on the committee of the whole.
Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. In essence, we're in the committee of the whole right now. About a year or so ago, council has brought in a rule to review the rules of the city council. And that's when we took out Cushing's manual and started going through it. In Cushing's manual, the rules we go by state that when we're in assembly, as we are now, and an issue comes up, we can break into committee of the whole, so all 11 councils will be a committee for a time certain, and then report back to the committee. The president can put somebody else as chairman. If it's a financial matter, put the finance chairman up there. If it's a legal matter, the president can ask for the chairman of legal affairs to go up there and chair the committee of the whole. But in essence, we're in committee of the whole now. This is what it's for. Then report back to the council. For something that isn't going to go to committee, we can be in committee of the whole. For something that is going to one of the 5 standing committees, we have to refer it by rule to one of the 5 standing committees. That's simply the rules. I mean, far too often in our country, we have the rules in front of us and we're only following the ones we like. If we're gonna be a nation, a state, a city of rules, if we know we're breaking a rule and we know what the rule is and we've studied it and reviewed them, why would we not follow the rule? Because we made a mistake in the past, we have to continue making the mistake? I don't see the logic in that. So I ask that we just follow the rules and let this process take its place. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. I guess in that case, if we are effectively in the committee of the whole right now, then I would make a motion for adoption for first passage.
We can't.
We're going to have to ask you to all leave if you can't settle down. I understand that this is an emotional issue, but I will go back to, we have rules that we have to go by. And what I will ask from my colleagues right now is a 2-minute recess so that we can review these rules with the clerk and what the proper process is, because the beauty of rules is you can always contest a rule, right? So if I have a, Councilor Repley. Oh, no?
So in that case, we could I ask?
2-minute recess?
Go before recess, could I speak? I mean,
I like the 2-minute recess.
I would like to speak on the rule.
Oh, geez, okay.
It makes nice play and a nice joke to just say, okay, let's vote on it now. But that was the whole reason these rules are put in to prevent. Let's say whatever it is, something you don't like comes up. Zoning change in your neighborhood. They're going to close your school. How would you like it if we were in city council to talk about it? We're going to close your child's school. And we broke into committee of the whole to discuss it more, where it's supposed to be reported back to the full council, then go to committee, the proper committee for public hearing. If we came out of committee of the whole and just said, okay, all those in favor, all those opposed, and the school was closed. I don't think anybody would be happy if it happened that way for something you didn't like. So we can't just use the rules one way for something you like and another way for something you don't like. Because the process is to talk about something, report back to the council as we're going to, and then it's supposed to be reported to the proper council committee, to a standing committee of the city council. You can do it otherwise, but it won't be following the rules of Cushing that we go by or the rules of the city council handbook. So we got to decide if we want to do that or not. So, thank you.
Thank you, Madam President. I was trying to hold back on addressing the reason why I wanted to go to the committee of the whole. The issue comes down to the composition of the committees, and I know how to count votes. And I know that there are 3, maybe 4 of the 5 people on OLA who are against this proposal. They've been against the memorandum of understanding with the Latino Leadership Coalition. They were against the issue of Spanish ballots being provided in municipal elections. That's my concern. And that was my concern, Madam President, when I raised the issue regarding your assignments of these particular committees this year, in which you have
doubled up both the Ward 3 and the Ward 7 councilors on both of the two major committees, namely the Administration and Finance Committee as well as the OLA Committee, and have neglected to include the Ward 4 and Ward 5 councilors on either one of those major committees. If we're wanting to do, I was trying to actually look for a compromise in terms of having the committee of the whole address it, where all 11 of us can bring motions to amend. All 11 of us can vote up or down on those matters while it's in committee. But if that's not appreciated by the folks that I believe oppose this matter, then I would suggest that instead that we vote down Councilor Lovely's motion to commit this to OLA, and that instead that we commit this matter to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and Environment. It's clearly within the jurisdiction of public safety. That's the essence of the ordinance, is public safety. That's all we talked about during all of the comments that were made there. I would have that co-posted with the Committee of the Whole. That's a different composition, and if that's the will of the body, I would do that. So I'm going to actually withdraw my motion on your ruling, Madam Chair, and so the underlying motion is the Ward 3 councilor's motion to commit to OLA.
Thank you. Councilor Lovely.
I can't speak for the other members of the Committee on Ordinance and Legal Affairs. I've been on this council previously, many, many years ago. I always had an open mind. I always listened to what people had to say. I always do my homework. I don't recall anybody asking me to vote on the memorandum of understanding. I don't remember anybody asking me to take a look at it. I don't remember anybody calling me and asking me to work on this ordinance. I don't remember seeing it before it came here this evening. To say that I have already predetermined how I'm going to vote is unfair to me and the people I represent. I haven't received one telephone call or email from anybody in my ward on either side. And I can't speak for the other members of OLA, but that's the proper committee that it belongs in, and under the rules, that's where it should go. To say that I'm going to be impartial and unfair and not listen to all sides of this, and a lot of people are here, not everybody is in favor of this, who is here this evening. And to suggest that I've already predetermined how I'm going to vote is unfair and disrespectful. Thank you.
Okay, can we have do I have a motion for a 2-minute recess just so that we can get this straightened out?
2-minute recess.
Okay, all right. We are in a 2-minute recess. Do I have a motion to return to the meeting? Councilor Lovely?
So moved.
Okay, thank you. Councilor Lovely.
Thank you, Madam President. I rise at this time in the spirit of compromise. I feel very strongly in the rules. I believe strongly that the Committee of the Whole is a mistake in nomenclature. We can accomplish the same thing by what I'm going to propose. But first, I'm going to ask for, I'm going to present a motion that I hope will be seconded to lay my motion on the table.
Second.
Okay.
Not debatable.
Thank you, Councilor Lovely. That motion is not debatable. Your motion's laid on the table.
We need a vote. Just have to vote.
Okay. All those in favor? All those opposed? That motion carries.
Thank you, Madam President.
Councilor Lovely.
At this time, I ask that we set up a special ad hoc committee consisting of all the members of the City Council with the Madam President or her designee to chair the meeting, and that a public hearing be held at a suitable location at a time and place chosen by the City Council.
I second that motion.
Thank you.
Okay, on Councilor Lovely's motion, seconded by Councilor Epley. All those in favor? All those opposed? That matter carries. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. So, for everybody in the room, what just happened? Because I know we all sat here very calmly everyone was allowed their minute to speak, and now what just happened? What just happened is the City Council formed an ad hoc committee because it didn't want to go into a bunch of different committees for various rules, we were all arguing amongst ourselves, which I sometimes think is detrimental, but sometimes it's a fact of what goes on in the room. But what's happened is now we formed a committee that is going to take up the matter. And at this time, all your questions about where, when, how, goes right to the Madam President. Because Madam President is now until such time, if she decides to appoint one of us to chair that ad hoc committee. All the questions of where it's going to be held, what time, how it's going to be composed, all those questions should be directed to the president, because that's who is going to, at this time, chair that committee, unless she decides at some point, for whatever her schedule is, she wants to appoint one of us. So that's where it is. With regards to some of the discussions earlier about this, they want it at a place that is going to be able to accommodate people and broadcast live on SATV. The only place that could do live on SATV is going to accommodate everybody would be Salem High School. Maybe the Bentley, I'm not sure. They've added a couple, but back in the day, it used to be, there was only, I don't know if it's Collins is in the Chambers for the school committee, which isn't big enough. So I believe it's the high school, but I'll leave it to the president to figure that out. But just so everyone has, this is a very important issue. It needs to be dealt with. It needs to be dealt with in a timely manner. People need to know what's going on. So that's why I felt the need to stand up right now, because I could see a lot of faces like, what just happened? And so that's what happened. We're going to deal with it. The whole body's going to be able to participate and take a vote, and then it will come back at some point back to this chamber in this room where the 11 of us will stand up or raise our hands and say yay or nay, and then we'll have a decision on the matter. But for all those out here who came tonight, thank you. It is a very important issue. It's something that, with everything that goes on at the federal level, it's something that needs to be dealt with. And I just want to say, I want to thank Representative Tucker and the police chief and the words from the mayor. There's been a lot of work behind the scenes to get us to this point. And now the work comes in front of us, and the people in this room and the people watching the TV are relying on us to deal with what has been presented to us in a timely manner, to make some additions, hopefully for the better, and then bring it back to this body for a vote. So that's where we are, just to clarify for everybody. Thank you, John.
Thank you, Councilor McCarthy. Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. Now that we've done that, I would move once again for us to have a short recess in order to allow anybody who doesn't want to stick around for the rest of our agenda, which is probably going to be boring as anything to everybody else here, so that they can all leave without disruption if they want to.
Thank you.
Want to stick around? I mean, we're all fun.
Oh, you can stay.
We are in recess. Councilor Turiel.
Move that we resume the regular order of the meeting.
Page 3.
Page
3.
5, no. 3?
Page 3.
Yeah, we never got
No,
to,
cancel.
okay.
4.
All right,
No, we did that.
let's
We're
resume.
flying now, we're on 5.
5 deep
We
breaths.
never did do hearings because it was withdrawn, so.
Right, so, but let's record that. Hearings.
Continued from the last meeting, an order from National Grid to relocate 2 poles at 401 to 405 Bridge Street. The order was withdrawn from National Grid.
Thank you, Madam City Clerk. That brings us to
Page 5.
page 5. Appointments and reappointments.
We have the mayor's appointment of Sabita Javier to serve as a constable with a term to expire on January 30th, 2018.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. Move received and placed on file.
Councilor Ryan moves that this be received and placed on file. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $51,590 from fund balance free cash account to the police medical active account.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for a suspension of the rules.
Councilor Gerard moves the suspension of the rules. Any objection? Seeing none. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption.
Okay. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. This is basically routine. This is just the police asking for funds for their medical account that they're going to need going forward, especially with the new members of the police force coming online.
Okay. Any other discussion? On Councilor Gerard's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $43,908.62 from the Retirement Stabilization Vacation Fund, Vacation Sick Leave Buyback account for fiscal year 2017 contractual for buyback listed below. Scott Herbert, Fire Department.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for a suspension of the rules.
Councilor Gerard moves the suspension of the rules. Any objections? Seeing none. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption.
Counselor Gerard moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Thank you. Actually, if we can, maybe can we vote on this and then take a moment of silence for Lieutenant Hebert? Is that all right?
Absolutely. We can suspend the rules after that.
Do you want to do the moment of silence?
Let's vote on it, and then we'll have the...
Okay. Lieutenant Hebert was a almost 20-year member of the fire department, and he passed away of a heart attack just a few weeks ago. And normally these things are routine, but this is not routine because he was only 43 and he leaves behind a wife and 4 kids. And this is something that they need and something that we need to give back. And I think also that the city, that this is important for their city to show their love and honor and strength to the Hebert family anytime you see them.
Okay.
So I move for adoption.
Okay. And Councillor McCarthy?
Thank you, Madam President. Just briefly, obviously, we want to extend our heartfelt condolences to the Hebert family, but I also want to thank the Human Resources Department, the Fire Department, everybody who came together in order to expedite these. I mean, typically, this is something they weren't anticipating to go through very quickly and rapidly on behalf of the family to come up with a number that is appropriate and justified. I wish it was more, but this is what he was due based on his years of service and what he had coming to him. And I want to thank those departments for coming together rapidly in order to finalize what the number was in order to, so that we can appropriate this and get this to the family, because obviously a young man cut down in his life with a family at home. I don't anticipate that they were anticipating us, and so obviously any kind of money that could help them at this point would be greatly appreciated, and I want to thank all the departments that came together to make this happen. So I wholeheartedly support this.
Thank you, Councillor McCarthy. Any other discussion?
Could I just,
Councillor Sargent.
as we take a moment of silence for Lieutenant Hebert, may we also recognize former Ward 1 Councilor George Ahmed, who passed away a couple weeks ago, and any other Salem resident that we've lost in the meantime. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Sargent. On Councillor Gerard's motion for adoption of this money matter, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. Can I ask for suspension of the rules to allow us to stand in memory of Lieutenant Hebert?
Thank you, Councillor Gerard. Moves suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, we'll have a 1-minute moment of silence. Thank you. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to accept the donation for $1,050 from Notch Brewery to the Salem No Place for Hate revolving account.
Councillor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I actually move that we keep this in committee.
Which committee?
Administration and Finance. Can we refer to Administration and Finance, please?
Thank you. Okay. Under discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. As it turns out, the No Place for Hate Committee doesn't have a revolving fund. So we have to figure out what to do with this money.
Okay.
And we greatly appreciate Notch for, they were open, I believe it was on MLK Day, on Martin Luther King Jr. Day, and all the money that they made from the sales that day came to No Place for Hate, which we greatly appreciate, but we have to figure out how to appropriate it.
Okay. Thank you. Councillor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I think, this is wonderful what the owners of Notch Brewing did. What they did is they opened up on MLK Day, which is, it's a holiday. It was a holiday, but it's also a day that normally they were closed. And so the owner and his wife, Chris and Mary Ellen, who have been in this chamber many times with all the zoning and stuff that's been going on having to do with breweries, they decided to open that day, and they worked the bar themselves, and they took all the tips that were given to them that day and put them into, since they own the place, they make the money off the beer, they decided all the tips that would normally be given, they would donate to No Place for Hate in honor of MLK Day. And I think that was a wonderful, and that's the kind of civic mindedness that a lot of businesses in this community have. And you know, the Notch has been a wonderful addition to the city in that sense, and what they did is terrific, and I just want to thank them for it.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Gerard's motion to move this to the Committee for Administration and Finance, seconded by Councilor Lovely. All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $42,147.86 from Receipts Reserve Golf Course to Park and Rec golf equipment.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for a suspension of the rules.
Councilor Gerard moves for suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that this be adopted.
Councilor Gerard moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This is actually a very routine matter. Our fantastic golf course, from the receipts from people like myself going to that golf course and utilizing it, that now they can put it towards new golf equipment, which is also needed.
Thank you. Any further discussion? On Councilor Gerard's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation for $28,000 from Capital Outlay Renovation and Repair account to be expended for Splain Park stair repair by the Planning Department.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Suspension of the rules. Seeing no objection, Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. Also move for adoption.
Councilor Gerard moves for adoption. Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. In speaking with the Ward 3 councilor and hearing from planning that and Park and Rec that the stair repair on Splain Park is desperately needed, and this is going to cover part of that. And I know that when I spoke with, I suppose I shouldn't speak for him, but I'll speak for him, that the Ward 3 councilor and I, we agree that these are necessary to be done. So.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Councilor Dewell.
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is a matter that first came before the Commission on Disabilities last year. Gary Gill brought it in, and we subsequently, several of the commission members and myself, went on a hike up the trail and saw the condition of the staircase and some of the environs around there. Mr. Gill continued his effort and got some of the hillside cleaned up a little bit. Was very disappointed that the staircase still was not yet repaired. So I encourage the entire council, let's approve this thing and make it a lot safer and allow the residents from up on top of the hill to come right down the hill. Otherwise, they won't have the ability to enjoy the park or to have safe access from there to Boston and Essex Street. This is a good thing.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Gerard's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an appropriation of $13,514.30 from the Capital Outlay Equipment account to be expended for the Splain Park surveillance cameras by the Police Department.
Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for suspension of the rules.
Seeing no objection, Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. I also move for adoption.
Under discussion.
Thank you, Madam President. This actually came directly from the police chief. As we know, Splain Park was redone a couple of years ago, but unfortunately, there's been some incidences with vandalism. And actually, I believe it was in 2014, we had discussed this and discussed putting cameras in the park. And at that time, the police did not have the capabilities to monitor that. But now that they do, they would like the cameras there.
Thank you. Councilor Turrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I just want to recognize the former Ward 3 councilor, Councilor Siegel, who he and I, this was the idea of putting surveillance cameras in the parks to help with public safety issues there is something that he and I worked on with the police department in our very first year. We were both elected in 2011. And we worked on that with quite a few meetings with the police. And a lot of effort went into it and figuring out how to do it. And the police department had planned upgrades and capacity and upgrades to their system to support this kind of use. So I'm really happy to see that this has finally come to fruition. And I know, the work of the A&F chair, the work of the Parks Department, the work of the current Ward 3 councilor has all, really contributed to making this start. And Splain Park hopefully is the first in many of our parks, getting better security presence in there and getting that kind of force multiplication you get with security cameras. I'm really looking forward to that.
Thank you. Councillor Fury, then Councillor Famico.
I hope we do this at McGrew Park, Pitt, and other future endeavors that we do. I grew up in Spillane Park, and I had the good fortune of having Kathy O'Leary, former county commissioner, as my park instructor. It was a wonderful park to grow in. So as we invest into these parks, we should invest in security, 21st century. It's a no-brainer, common sense, good investment, whether it's McGrew Park or Spillane Park, there, because people want to feel safe, and their neighbors want to feel safe too, and they can feel safe. So I concur highly with this. Thank you very much.
Councillor Famico.
Thank you, Madam President. I'm glad that we're finally getting these at Spillane Park, and I'm hoping we can look at some of the other locations. When we had originally discussed this a couple years ago, we had also looked at Mary Jane Lee with the new splash pad, and I'd also note that the one on the Common, their camera, the quality is terrible now. It's way out of date. So some other areas for that. I'd also hope that the Parks and Rec can actually work with DPW in creating the signage for this. When it goes up downtown, we have terrible signage. It says warning that's about 4 inches large. It says surveillance cameras in use. I don't think it needs to say warning. It could just simply say surveillance cameras in use, because the warning just makes it seem like an unsafe place, and we don't want that to get across. But going forward, I know that's not in our purview, but if we can just make sure that happens before these cameras go up, so it doesn't seem like it's a scary place for people, and that we just make sure that it's properly signed, but in a way that's delicate for kids to be around, as well as the members of the community. But thanks for getting this done. The current Ward 3, to Todd Siegel, wherever he is now, thank you to him as well. And to A&F Chair, thank you very much.
Further, Councillor Lovely.
I really wasn't going to say anything, but this came about because the residents were concerned about the status of the park. A lot of money went into the park. We had I guess, undesirable people there who were hanging out in the park, and it's very difficult procedure to have them move along, but they were performing illicit activities, and I was through a concerted effort from the neighbors and speaking with the mayor. The mayor was very responsive, came down to a meeting with Mary Butler, and they endeavored to get this done. But to all the ward councilors and to the people who are at home, if you have an issue that rises to this level, get a hold of your ward council and the mayor's office, and I'm sure that they'll do the same thing they did for these folks at this park. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any further discussion on Councillor Gerard's motion? All those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. We doing further communications from the mayor?
We have an order that the Salem Police Department is authorized to install 2 video surveillance cameras at Spillane Park.
Councillor Lovely.
Move approval.
Councillor Lovely moves for adoption. Under discussion. I think I heard no discussion.
No discussion.
Okay. All right, on Councillor Lovely's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Further communications from the mayor.
We have an order to authorize the mayor to execute on behalf of the City of Salem a community benefit agreement with the North Shore Medical Center to provide certain benefits to the city to assist with addressing the impacts associated with the expansion of the existing healthcare complex.
Okay, and just let the record reflect that Councillors Gerard and Famico have recused themselves. Councillor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. I move that we refer to the Committee on Ordinance, Legal Affairs, and probably co-post it with Committee Hall if any other councils have questions, and then have a meeting and send it back, just review it.
Okay. Any discussion?
I have no discussion. If any other councilor does, that's fine, but we'll send it to committee and bring it back out again. So.
Any other discussion? No? Okay, on Councillor Ryan's motion, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Mayor's informational page, none. Motions, orders, and resolutions. Councillor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President. The City of Salem City Council, February 9, 2017. Actually, it's not the 9th. It's whatever day it is now. That the city solicitor The Director of Planning, Community Development, and the Zoning Enforcement Officer shall review current issues related to the establishment of recreational marijuana outlets in the City of Salem and shall provide information and/or recommended actions to the City Council. Be it further ordered that this matter be referred to the Committee on Public Health, Safety, and the Environment to review and discuss the information and/or recommendations made by the City Solicitor, Director of Planning and Community Development, and the Zoning Enforcement Officer, and forward to the full council for final recommendation relative to this matter.
Councilor McCarthy, on my agenda, I have an ordinance amending traffic next.
Did I go the wrong one?
Yeah.
Did no one stop me? You're supposed to hit me. I was on a roll. Whoops.
We'll waive that reading.
I didn't wear my ring today. Should have hit me. Oh, no, that's fine. I did the wrong one.
Long night.
Sorry about that. City of Salem, year 2000, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained the City Council, City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 49. Obedience to isolated stop sign is hereby amended by adding the following: Columbus Square, southerly bound traffic on Columbus Square, stop at Winter Island Road, stop sign. This ordinance shall take effect provided by City Charter.
Move for first passage.
Move for first passage.
Thank you. Under discussion?
Briefly, this matter came up from a constituent relative to a near-miss traffic incident. I referred to Lieutenant Brzezinski, who happened to be going to a meeting of the new traffic commission, or whatever we call them now. And they took up the matter, and their recommendation was to put up a stop sign. It's the fastest stop sign I've ever seen put up, and I'm happy to do it because it's one of those weird situations there, Columbus Square, if you're coming across, there's no stop sign, and you're cutting right across traffic, and it's kind of a mess. So it's, it's needed, and it happened quickly, and I'm happy for that.
Great. Any other discussion? On Councilor McCarthy's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? Opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Sargent.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, City Council, February 16th in the year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 49. Obedience to isolated stop sign is hereby amended by adding the following: Holyoke Square, southerly bound traffic on Holyoke Square, stop at Gedney Street, stop sign. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by City Charter. And move for first passage, please.
Under discussion?
Under discussion. Well, I apologize, Council Famico. I was at the parking board meeting, parking commission meeting, and they brought this up, and they were talking about it, and after they talked about Council McCarthy stop sign, and I just happened to blurt out, why don't you just recommend it? And I thought it was going to come in, but with Council Famico to bring it in, and lo and behold, they had my name on it, and she was gracious enough to let me read it, so that piece there, thank you. So I'm done discussion. I'll move for first passage, please. This was a dangerous place. I know an elderly gentleman got hit there, and he wasn't killed, but he died sooner than he would have because of his injuries. And recently, somebody just crossed and was there. And it's a situation where people are coming out of there, and they're kind of looking right and driving left, and sometimes they don't see the pedestrian on the way because it's a little bit of an extension of Route 114 and the cut through when you come up by Sears Market, so it's become fairly dangerous. So, thank you.
Councilor. Any further discussion? Councilor Famico.
Yeah, just thank you to the at-large councilor for stepping in. We have at-large councilors to be part of citywide decisions anyhow, and I thank the at-large councilor for taking initiative on this and making it happen. So thanks, Councilor Sargent.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Sargent's motion for adoption for first passage, all those in favor? All those opposed? The matter carries. Councilor McCarthy.
Thank you, Madam President.
I'll entertain, okay. All right, thank you.
Someone just a motion to waive the reading?
Yes.
Thank you. Under discussion.
Yes, sir.
I'm glad we're feeling happy tonight. Basically, keep it brief. The city of Peabody is most recently, about 2 or 3 weeks ago, the mayor is entertaining the idea that the city of Peabody actually, when you get into how they voted on the issue of marijuana, they actually, as a city, voted it down. So the mayor is entertaining the idea of not allowing marijuana dispensaries, the legal ones, in their city because they voted down. We, on the other hand, as the city of Salem, we voted in favor of it, but I have concerns that, listen, the will of the voters is the will of the voters. I appreciate that and I respect that. But with respect to public safety, My concerns are where they are going to be allowed. Proximity to schools, proximity to churches, proximity to daycares, playgrounds, wherever. Kind of reminds me, once again, I'm showing my age, to about 10 years ago, before I was on the council, and I saw, at that point, the veteran colleague stick the rookie, the then Ward 6 councilor, with well, why don't we give him that, everyone's talking about we need to develop a zone relative to the entertainment zone. So they gave young Councilor Prevey the job of having meetings, and he had meetings. He was very diligent, but he did it. If Councilor Prevey's watching at home, he did a great job. That was when I was sitting over there watching, and he came up with this. They had a map, and it had so many concentric circles around it that was like they identified every school and everything in there, and they made. And to try to say, okay, how many feet around a school and whatnot. I hope that someone still has that document, because it could be helpful in this discussion, because, I mean, it's a serious, I mean, the voters voted for it, but it's a serious issue. I fully respect the fact that these dispensaries or these stores are going to exist that are going to allow this, and that's the will of the voters, and so be it. But at the same time I have concerns for the safety of the kids in our neighborhoods and where they're actually going to be allowed to happen. So I think to start, I know it's like a year or so out before we actually get them, but I think if we start the discussion now, we're being proactive instead of reactive. So I think that we can get the powers to be in to have a discussion, what they think will work, what relative to how to develop it, and then they can refer back to the committee, and then the committee can have a few meetings or however long it takes, and then refer back to the council, so we have something in place, because it's going to happen, but I would prefer that we control how it happens. So that was the intent of the order, so I look forward to working with the powers that be to make this happen.
Thank you, Council. Any further discussion? Councilor Girai.
Thank you, Madam President. The dispensary that we do have is in my ward, and if I'm not mistaken, that dispensary has a 200-yard radius from any playground, school. So I would, isn't it 200? It's either 200 yards or I think it's 200 yards. I would imagine that we would have something similar. So they already have it for the dispensary, so they may.
Yeah, I mean,
Councilor McCarthy.
Just as a clarification, I mean, that's for the medical marijuana, and I respect those. We're talking about recreational stuff, and, the recreational stuff is, as we've all seen some of the commercials and whatnot, I don't need to, but some of the stuff, I mean, the one that hits home with me is the mother is walking her youngest kid down the street, and all of a sudden her oldest child is walking out with, and she's like, at first she's like, oh my God, there's a store here, and all of a sudden she sees her oldest kid walking out of the store, and it happens to be near the school because she was walking her kid home from school. Obviously it's going to happen in the city, and the voters' will is the voters' will. But at the same time, I think that we as legislators have a responsibility to get involved early to decide, so it doesn't happen that something pops up where someone doesn't want it, and then all of a sudden we all start receiving phone calls because something popped up, right next to a school or right next to a church or however it happened. Whatever the will is coming back from the recommendations from the planning department, the zone, Tom St. Pierre being the zoning official, and, the city solicitor, that comes back with some language to us that we can work with to make it so people know if they want to open up one of these places, where and when and how they can do it, so.
Right. Further discussion, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. Very briefly, this is from, the voters of Salem did vote by a fairly healthy margin in favor of this. I expect it will happen. I think it should happen, and I think the time has come in that regard. By the provisions of the law, the initiative that was passed, there are going to be restrictions on use and on age and sale. And I do agree, though, that we are going to have to figure out the framework of where we're going to allow them, and and all the details that go along with that. And I agree very thoroughly with my colleague that it is something where we're better to be proactive than reactive. So we know it's coming. We know it's coming. We know it's been legalized for possession already, and and the giftings, I believe, is how the term is. We know that personal quantities are allowed and such, and sales are going to be enabled some point next year. And so, yeah, the farther ahead we get at that, the better. So I think this is a good effort to go into now.
Thank you. Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor McCarthy's motion for adoption, all those in favor? Opposed? Matter carries. Further motions, orders, and resolutions. Counselor Lovely.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem, year 2017, an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to traffic. Be it ordained by the City Council of the City of Salem as follows. Section 1, Chapter 42, Section 55B, prohibited from parking, residential districts or in front of residential housing or apartments or entrance corridor overlay districts, commercial vehicles. Commercial vehicles prohibited from parking in residential districts, exception, penalty. Subsection F, commercial vehicles parked directly in front of a legal non-conforming business located in any R residential district within the city shall be exempted from the provisions of this ordinance if the commercial vehicle is registered to that particular address of the legal non-conforming business. Section 2, this ordinance shall take effect as provided by the city charter.
Move for adoption for first passage?
I'll move adoption for first passage and under discussion.
Under discussion. Yeah.
We passed the center entrance, well, I always call it the center entrance corridor, but it started out as one center entrance. Now it's the entrance corridor. One of the issues that I have on Jefferson Avenue is that there's a couple of very large tow trucks. I don't know if you've driven down Jefferson Avenue and seen them, but they park in front of houses where they're not supposed to, and then occasionally they park in front of the sub shop that's there because that's a commercial activity. It's a loophole in the law. I discussed this with Lieutenant Pazewski. He's told me that he's no longer permitted to give any recommendations. So he is in favor of this. I spoke with him in his unofficial capacity. As no longer the ordinance has changed, he said no longer is he required or permitted to send anything to the council as far as a recommendation.
Thank you.
The ordinance of the parking ordinance changed the.
Counselor Famico, then Counselor Girard.
Thank you, Madam President. I'd move this get referred to the Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs. First, I need a second.
Second.
The reason for that is just with the language, I'd just like to have a further discussion with this as far as it says that they are prohibited from parking, but then what happens if you're a commercial vehicle servicing or just visiting someone that you can't even stop there? I just would like some clarification with that. And just in general, just to hash this out a little bit before we go and put it in as for first passage.
Councilor Lovely.
Under response, within Chapter 55B, commercial vehicles are allowed in a residential zone for the purpose of servicing customers, deliveries, oil trucks, TV repairmen, anything like that. It's already in the ordinance, so that wouldn't be affected. This is just to keep trucks out of a residential zone where there's a non-conforming business. They're using the loophole and saying, because now it says they're allowed to park in front of a non-conforming business. So this will allow them, will not allow them to park in front of a non-conforming business, of which they have no business being there other than to find a place where convenient to their residents that they can park in a residential neighborhood because it's a non-conforming business. Their truck is not registered there. If it was, they'll be allowed. That's the purpose of this.
Councilor McCarthy, then Councilor Girard.
No, I was next. You said
I'll yield to Councilor Girard.
Thank you. Sorry about that. But I guess this, I don't know how this would be clearly stated to a police officer that if there's a commercial vehicle parked in front of my house to do work, it's not registered to my house. So how will he or she know not to ticket it? It doesn't make sense. It seems like it would create a lot of bureaucracy, and they would potentially get a ticket and then have to go fight it and then get it resolved in order to park in front of my house to do work on my house. It's not clear. I agree with Councilor Famico that this should go to Ola, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, ideally, so it can just be hammered out.
Councilor McCarthy, Councilor Lovely.
Thank you. Tow trucks are a problem. And I know they provide a service, and I know some of them are contracted through the city. Some of them, the larger ones aren't, they just convenient. Some of them are contracted through the city, but tow trucks in general that park in residential neighborhoods, that's for the convenience of the driver, and I respect the guy's he or she is trying to work. But the fact of the matter is they're taking these trucks home. They're not supposed to be on the street. They're doing it for convenience because the truck should be in a commercial lot, should be at the owner of the lot, and they should be taking their private vehicle and driving there to pick the truck up in order to go out on a call. They don't want to do that. But unfortunately, what they're doing is they're taking up multiple parking spaces in tight neighborhoods. And typically, let's think about it. When are they getting calls? And no one's going to ticket somebody if the guy goes home for lunch at noon. But if the thing is there from 6 o'clock at night until 6 a.m. the next morning, it's obviously he took the truck home, he's not going anyplace. And typically when he does get a call, it's usually at 2 or 3 in the morning. Anyone been near a diesel tow truck when it fires up at 2 or 3 in the morning?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
I get those calls. We all get those calls. So, I mean, I respect the fact that maybe you want to tighten this length, but this thing needs to be dealt with in a hurry because we need to close as many loopholes as we can because it does happen. Sometimes more than we like to think, and it needs to be something hard in language that the police can deal with it.
Thank you. Councilor Lovely, Councilor Famico.
The council points out that the person who's going to be complaining is the person whose house the truck is parked in front of. And when they come down, they run the license plate, so they would know if it's registered to that location. So, commercial vehicles, I don't believe, are able to be registered to a residence anyway, but I mean, they run the plates before they give tickets.
Councilor Famico, Councilor Terrio.
Yeah, I would just add with that, there was some commercial vehicles, like I have a resident who lives on Briggs Street, he doesn't drive a tow truck. He has his business vehicle that he takes home with him every night, and it's not registered to his house, it's registered to his company, but then becomes his vehicle to and from. And I know that is different than a tow truck, but that's part of the reason I would just like to clarify the different types of plates where they're registered before we go and put something for first passage, although there would be final passage in that.
Councilor
But also, we have a meeting next Thursday, correct?
Yeah.
So
We
if
have
we
a
could
meeting
send
next
it to
Thursday.
Ola and hold it next Thursday prior to the regular meeting and then do first passage then.
Councilor Terrio, Councilor Lovely, Councilor Sargent, and Councilor McCarthy.
Actually, Madam President, Councilor Famico just made the vast majority of my point for me, so I'll yield my time to Councilor Lovely.
Thank you.
I'd like suspension of the rules to allow me to speak for a third time.
So moved.
Thank you.
No objection?
People can't park in a residential zone now with a commercial vehicle. This is just to close a loophole where people are parking in front of a commercial vehicle that is grandfathered essentially in a residential zone. It's not their business, but there's a loophole in the law that they can park anywhere in a residential area in front of a non-conforming business. That's the way it reads currently. And Councilor McCarthy, I think, has that issue because there are commercial spots in a residential zone, stores and so forth. There's several stores up on North Street that a tow truck or a large truck could park there because it's convenience for them. But they're not registered to the business. They're just abusing the residential exemption that's here. We're not making any wholesale changes. Right now, they're not allowed to park. And the intent was, well, gee, if Mr. Jones has a business, he's got his service truck there, he's able to park it there, which this stays the same. So now it doesn't allow any commercial vehicle to park anywhere they want in a residential zone in front of a non-conforming business. We're not changing anything. We're just saying you have to have your truck registered to that particular location, that non-conforming business, if you're going to keep your truck there. Otherwise, anybody in the city can park their tow truck or any large vehicle in front of a non-conforming business. You cannot park a commercial vehicle in a residential neighborhood. You can't do that. Maybe people do it, neighbors understand, they're friends, they let it go, but that's what the ordinance is. So we're not making any great change here.
Councilor Sargent, Councilor McCarthy.
Well, just quickly, I'm not sure if people are understanding that where it says commercial vehicles prohibited from parking in residential district exempt of penalty, that's just the title of the current ordinance. All that you're asking for is already in the ordinance. It allows the plumber, the carpenter, whatever, to park in front of a residential house or next door to do business there. They can't be ticketed for that. All he's trying to do is take a loophole out that would allow this giant tow truck to park in front of a business all day long because it's a business. And they say, well, I'm in a business zone. No, you're in front of a grandfather. It's not in the right zone. Just because it's a business, it's not a business zone. So in order for them to be able to help Council Lovely and other councils with this, we have to put this in. So it's helping keep a large vehicle from in front of a business where it shouldn't be. So a business can do business and be seen. So.
Councilor McCarthy?
I'm done. Thank you, Madam President.
Okay. Councilor Gerard, Councilor Terrio.
Thank you, Madam President. I mean, just to be clear, if we're talking about tow trucks, then this should specify tow trucks because, again, with the commercial vehicles, it's not clear. And I think what my colleague from Ward 2 and I are suggesting, just going to committee just so that, just get it clarified, because the reality is that 720 CMR 9.03 specifies how commercial vehicles can and cannot park. I've had this, and I know this because had a problem with a tow truck driver parking in my neighborhood and explaining to this person, with the help of Lieutenant Brzezinski, they're not allowed to do this, and saying, it's not just city ordinance, but it's also state regulation. So I just am asking for the opportunity just to flesh this out a little and just make sure that this is clear, because the way that this is being read is that it's covering all commercial vehicles. It's not specifying. It's not, the specificity isn't there for me. So I'm just asking to go to committee for next Thursday. Just get it done, move on.
Councilor Turiel.
Thank you, Madam President. I would also agree with that. I think the intent of this is very much clear, but commercial vehicle is a fairly broad category, and I know there's a lot of people who have, if I recall, I believe the Ward 1 councilor's personal truck has a commercial plate. It does, right? Or do you have a commercial plate? Yep. So, that's basically, it's his personal vehicle. It's what he drives all the time, but it has a commercial plate. So if he was over at another place, it could be called in. It's a regular pickup truck. It doesn't look all particularly, it's not loud, it's not a gigantic multi-axle beast, and it's fine. And there's small vans and small cars and there's a lot of smaller vehicles that have commercial plates and are owned by people who may not work they may not work out of their homes. It might not be a residential business use, but they have those vehicles. They drive them personally. They have arrangement with the business or whatever. They take them back to their home and they park there. And I just want to make sure make absolutely sure the language of this doesn't catch those guys up in it. So I think that's that's my only reservation. I think this is a wonderful idea.
Councilor McCarthy.
Yeah, I'll ask one last time, is just to having some experience with this. I mean, obviously, it has a lot to do with the size of the vehicle. If someone's bringing home their pickup truck or van, as long as it conforms to a certain size, there's usually not an issue. It's like when someone brings home a dump truck. Someone works for a landscape company, brings home a dump truck and a trailer. That's a problem. And the neighbors have a right to, obviously, it may be a situation that the guy comes home and he goes, talks to his neighbors, and says, listen, I got stuck up with I just brought it home for tonight, it's only a one-time thing. Most people are gonna say fine. But if it becomes a habitual problem, then obviously the residents have recourse. I mean, the two people you go to are the zoning officer, because it's a zoning violation, is Tom St. Pierre has been always very good with me when I have these issues, and then he usually goes to Lieutenant Brzezinski or to Mike Page, and they usually take care of it. So, I mean, I think I respect what's being said. It can come out next week. I don't think it's 1 week is going to be the end of it, I think, and then we can just get it done. Maybe we move for first passage tonight, refer it to committee, have them just make some quick recommendations, then we can refer it out. Because I don't think there's going to be any changes. I think he's targeted, there's one piece of grandfathered commercial property on that street that tow truck, I've seen it there 1,000 times, and I know exactly what he's talking about. And he's pulling a loophole. Let's close the loophole. That's for one area specifically. I think that's all this addresses. So my recommendation is pass it for first passage, refer it to committee, answer a couple quick questions, and then pass it out a week from now, and then it's done.
Is that a motion?
Second.
If so,
Okay.
Second.
Any under discussion? Councilor McCarthy's motion? No? Okay. On Councilor McCarthy's motion, all those in favor?
What's the motion?
Oh.
I'm sorry, what is
First
the
passage,
motion is-
refer to committee.
And, okay.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Matter carries.
Council Ryan, take care of that, will you?
Committee reports.
I have to go to sleep.
Councilor Ryan.
It's not just me.
I gotta wake up.
I heard
Read the
that.
right one.
Wait for read.
Josh, hit him.
The Committee on Ordinances, Licensed Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of granting certain licenses, has considered said matter and would recommend approval. They were Tag Days, Nathaniel Bowditch School.
Here's the reading.
Yeah, thank you.
Hey, where you guys going?
We've already made all the news.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
No discussion, these are just tag days, routine that we normally
Okay.
approve every once in a while.
All right, on Councilor Ryan's motion for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Ryan.
The Committee on Ordinances, License, Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of junk dealer license application submitted by Newark Recycled Fibers, North Shore Recycling, has considered said matter and would recommend approval.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On adoption of the recommendation, under discussion.
We had Chris Packett from North Shore Recycle come in, and we didn't have any big issues with it, so we approved it, and that's it. I don't know if anybody else in the committee wants to say anything, but no issues with. They've been there for a long time, and they're just there was some other issues with another business that was operating on there. So.
Further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Ryan's recommendation for adoption, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Councilor Ryan, further committee reports.
What?
That's a good question. You just did that junk dealer. Could be.
I might have pulled a McCarthy. Oh, sorry.
Happens to the best of us.
Yeah, I know. All right, yep. So we'll go back to that one. Okay. The Committee on Ordinance, License, Legal Affairs, co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of an ordinance to amend an ordinance relative to solid waste management, has considered said matter and would recommend keeping it in committee.
On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Ryan, under discussion.
This actually came in originally back in 2015, and then got first passage, and then it just died, so it got put back again. Excuse me. And we had a committee meeting, and then we had another one, and there's just some more questions we just want to clarify before we get it out of the committee, so we decided to keep it.
On Councilor Ryan's recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further committee reports. Councilor Ryan.
Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, Legal Affairs, to whom was referred the matter of junk dealer license application submitted by Excel Recycling, has considered said matter and would recommend just to discharge it, or the applicant has withdrew their application. So.
Okay. On acceptance of the report, all those in favor? All those opposed? On adoption of the recommendation, Councilor Ryan, any discussion?
No discussion. I mean, they applied to get the junk dealer's license, and it was on the same property kind of as the North Shore Recycle, and they withdrew their application. So.
Any further discussion? Seeing none, on Councilor Ryan's motion, all those in favor? Opposed? Further committee reports. Councilor Gerard.
Thank you, Madam President. City of Salem and City Council, February 16th, 2017, the Committee on Administration and Finance co-posted with the Committee of the Whole, to whom was referred the matter of a $250,000 appropriation capital outlay renovation and repair account to be expended for the design phase for the Essex Street roadway improvement project by the Engineering Department, has considered said matter and would recommend that it remain in committee.
On Councilor Gerard's, on the acceptance of the report, all those in favor? Opposed? On the adoption of the recommendation and the discussion?
Thank you, Madam President. We had a very detailed discussion with the city engineer with questions about this project, and members felt that there were still a few more questions that they would like answered, so we're going to keep it in committee for now.
Any further discussion? On adoption of the recommendation, all those in favor? All those opposed? Communications from city officials.
City solicitor submitting a home rule petition for one additional liquor license for the sale of wine and malt beverages not to be drunk on the premises at Castle Hill Mini Mart located at 280 Jefferson Avenue in accordance with the recommendation by City Council's order adopted January 26, 2017.
Councilor Lovely.
I move for adoption.
Councilor Lovely moves for adoption. Under discussion?
Yes, This is, I don't know how many people are familiar. I think I spoke at the last meeting relative to the location. Palms Variety, before that it was Blanchette's, before that it was Mackerel's. It's a local, it was a dance studio after Palms. A young entrepreneur has opened a business there and would like to have beer and wine. There are currently no licenses available. I spoke to the mayor and the city solicitor about getting this in. I've also spoken to the state representative who indicated to me that he was in support if we get it through. I haven't spoken to the state senator yet. She hasn't been around, so thank you for
Any further
supporting it for
discussion?
adoption.
Any further discussion? Seeing none on Council Lovely's motion for adoption. All those in favor? Opposed? Matter carries. Petitions.
We have a list of license applications for public guide, taxi cabs, and taxi operators.
Read the reading.
Thank you. Council Ryan.
Move granted.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay, on Council Ryan's motion that these be granted, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a license application for taxi operators.
Council Ryan.
Move denied.
Under discussion?
Discussion, they applied for a license and it didn't pass the quarry, so
Okay.
according to the police.
On Council Ryan, thank you. On Council Ryan's motion that these be denied, all those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have a hearing request from Edwin Gonzalez and Leonardo Reyes on the denial of their taxi operator license.
Council Ryan.
Move to refer to the Committee on Ordinance and Legal Affairs, hold an executive session.
Okay. Any discussion? No? Okay. On Council Ryan's motion that this matter be moved to Ordinances, License, and Legal Affairs to hold an executive session. All those in favor? All those opposed? And it carries. Further petitions.
We
Councilor...
have one tag day application.
Sorry, Councilor Ryan.
Move to refer to the Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay. On Councilor Ryan's motion that this matter be referred to Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? Opposed? And it carries. Further petitions.
We have one drain layer contract operator license.
Councilor Ryan.
Move granted.
Councilor Ryan moves that this be granted. Under discussion?
Discussion.
On Councilor Ryan's motion that this be granted. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further petitions.
We have 3 claims.
Councilor Ryan.
Referred to the Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs.
Under discussion?
No discussion.
Okay. Councilor Ryan moves that this be referred to the Committee on Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs. All those in favor? All those opposed? Further petitions.
We have 1 constable bond and 2 sign bonds.
Councilor Ryan.
Thank you, Madam President. Refer to the Committee on Ordinance, License, and Legal Affairs and return approved.
Any discussion?
No discussion.
On Councilor Ryan's motion that this be referred to Ordinances, Licenses, and Legal Affairs and return approved. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking, limited time, Mason Street in front of number 107 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone.
Councilor Giroux.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for second and final passage.
Thank you, Councilor Giroux. Under discussion?
No discussion.
Councilor Giroux moves for second and final passage. All those in favor? All those opposed? Matter carries. Further unfinished business.
We have second passage of an ordinance amending traffic, Chapter 42, Section 50B, handicap parking limited time, repeal Langdon Street in front of number 3 for a distance of 20 feet, handicap parking tow zone.
Councilor Epley.
Thank you, Madam President. I move for adoption for second and final passage with no discussion.
Thank you, Councilor Epley. Councilor Epley moves for adoption for second and final passage. All those in favor? All those opposed? Councilor Fury.
Motion to adjourn, Madam President.
Woo-hoo. We are adjourned.